So wow. Okay, so you're going this weekend to Portland right now, right?
Yeah, this will be we lost two due to COVID. This will be like my 11th Portland Retro Gaming Expo.
I fucking love Portland. Like, I really wish I could go.
It was chic and cool retro gaming before it was almost everywhere else back in 2010, 11. It was like they were ahead of the curve. And so I edited that Mr. Gimmick video in 24 hours. That's the energy I had. And that was the first convention I went to that flew me out and paid for my hotel, which is all I usually ask for at these conventions. I don't need an appearance fee or anything.
That's the gentleman's play, I think.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, if I have a ton more going on, if I'm like, Patrick Stewart, and like, yeah, I'll ask for,
Sure.
20 grand if I'm like a
Make it
movie
worth
star.
my while. I'm the fucking captain of the Enterprise. What are you talking about?
Where he ends up running away with a trash bag full of cash from his appearance. But that's the stories you hear.
Freaking, I forget who it was that was recording those voicemails at that one convention and walked away with just
the voice of Solid Snake.
Oh my God. Just
David
a
Hayter.
fortune. Just a fortune. He's like $80 per message or whatever it was.
Let's
I
not
don't
blow up
think
his
it was
spot, but David was super nice. I talked to him about the Watchmen script that he wrote, 15, 20 years ago. And
he's so cool. Yeah.
Very cool guy. And but that documentary, it was so strange being in something where I guess on some weird level, I guess on some level partially responsible for there being a sequel to an NES game that came out, over 30 years ago. On some small, minute level.
My hot take on Mr. Gimmick is that it's just like fucking good, and you should play it if you haven't heard of it.
That's a welcome to the Not So Common podcast. I'm not sure how much of our preamble about Gimmick's going to stay in there. That's Alex Fasciani.
Hi,
I'm Pat Contry. Every 2 weeks, you're going to hear us talk about whatever we'd like, but in a not so common way. We are not so common things.
we are in rare form this afternoon.
Voltaire would love us.
Oh, he does. I know it.
Today we'll talk about the Summer of Superman. Pat's sister. That's
The
me,
Summer
I'm
of
Pat.
Sister. Yeah.
Someone's sister visiting me. Early voting in the young demographic. We're going to do a Pat presidential prediction, and then TwitchCon, and then maybe
Pat's running for office today.
and then maybe a tweet controversy, maybe an argument will break out between Alex and me.
Oh my God.
We don't want too much vitriol between us with the listeners, since the listeners, at least my listeners, are still getting used to you. But Alex is really nice overall. He doesn't really upset me too often.
Here's the thing. I think that to be anything, you got to be something, right? Something.
Okay.
Like, you're going to make a decision about something, right? Like, you have to fall on one side of some line at some point in your life, and not everybody's going to be happy which side of the line you fall on every time. That's how I feel.
Okay. Putting that out there.
Yeah. That's the summer of symmetry. You know what I'm saying?
Not going to like everything.
Yeah. You're not going to like everything. Like, you can't please them all. Like, I got to be a real person. Like, I say on every show that I'm on, I say my big goal is to be myself. Right?
You gotta be me.
I'm just saying, like, I don't want to be different than who I actually am. I don't want to be thinking about what people think of me. I want to just bring my full self. Yeah.
You're not some disc jockey on 92.3 K-Rock that's there to talk for a minute and a half and not have a real personality, then spin up the latest Rolling Stones track. Not latest, but, that's...
Honestly, though, like, the way that you're laying that out right now, that sounds like the grooviest job in the world.
I was a radio show host in college. That's how I started out. Did you know that?
Did we talk about Alex already?
The other Alex? We
never
talked about that publicly. But there was another Alex I did a radio show with.
It was Faded.
For 2 years.
Are we sure we didn't say that on episode 1 of this very show?
We might have, but I mean, no one remembers what we talked about 2 weeks ago. Right?
That's fair. I say episode 1. It's like episode 70.
It's not episode 1. We're not doing the comic book soft reboot bullshit where we throw out 430 issues and now we're going to redo number 1.
Once we hit issue 100, we're back to 100. But until then, this is episode 6.
This is episode 63 we're talking about right now.
Just not on my computer because that would confuse the shit out of me.
We're not gonna redo the numbering on the Not So Common podcast. My sister visited me for the first time, and I've been out here for over 15 years.
That is so... I want to just say, like, I'm not trying to, like, throw shade. I think this speaks more to Pat's, like thought process than anything specifically about his sister, but he was dreading this.
And the good news is that my sister doesn't listen to my content.
I had a feeling she might not, based on like where your head was at, but I feel like the big contention was the rental car for me.
So I love my sister. Let's put it out there.
We all love our sisters. We all love our sisters.
But she can be a lot to handle. So my sister is the closest person in the world to my personality. So picture the female version of me with almost, we'll just say a lot less patience and a more fiery attitude.
So it's like in Back to the Future 2 when you like run into yourself and it like eliminates the universe because
it's not quite that, but she's very headstrong like me. She knows what she wants and says it. Like, she's very earnest, as you described me before, and she doesn't care. She doesn't give a crap. It has, the East Coast Italian thing a little bit, but and it's all. If you remember how I was 10 years ago, I was a lot more, I'll say, manic energy here and there, and I didn't care what I said as much. That's how she kind of is to this day, but I love her. But yeah, she finally said, I'm going to come out and visit you because I have a week off. She came out for 2.5 days, and she ran me ragged in terms of like, we saw so much in 2.5 days here. We went to the zoo. We went to Cabrillo National Park over here.
Who had the list?
We went to Pacific Beach, Mission Beach, walked around. We went to Old Town. She went by herself to see the Seal Beach in La Jolla. She packed in so much in 2.5 days that should have taken like 5 days.
She had an itinerary?
Not really. It was like, well, let's do this today. We almost went to the Padres game that Monday night.
Oh, man.
That would have
been
a
great
over
stadium
weekend.
that is. Oh.
So the good news is that obviously she loved being here because San Diego is amazing, especially this area whereabouts where I live. It's very chill. There's a lot to do.
The weather's good.
We went to Seaport Village. Oh, yeah. She's lucky she came that week because the weekend before was like the worst 4 days of weather we've had in several years where it was like 90 with humidity
every day. It destroyed the audio on this very podcast.
Around that, you're right. Actually, yeah, it kind of did because it was still hot that Tuesday. But now that past weekend, it was like, 73. And at night it was cool. So now because of that, unfortunately, San Diego, first world problem, my sinuses and my immune system have been attacked because of the wild swings in temperature. My body does not handle that well. So I was like sneezing so much this past weekend because now when it gets cold now at night, it went from like being 75, 80 at night to like 60 degrees at night within like a week. And so that my body's like trying to adjust to that. And it's been rough, but I'm getting there.
Yeah, you hate to see it, but you kind of love to see it because it means that the temperature's getting better.
Yeah, I mean, once you hit September, you won't need to put on the AC anymore in San Diego, but at night you might have to put on the heat at night because it drops down so much. So it's a good problem to have, but heat's expensive though sometimes.
Yeah, that's true. I have really bad sinuses too. I don't even know what it's like not to have a headache. I got a toothache because of my sinuses. Like
that's bizarre.
It's messed up. You
ever go to a specialist? Figure out what's going on in there?
I went to my dentist. I went to my dentist. We did an x-ray. It's just I got like some parts of my teeth that go in my sinuses and I have bad sinuses.
Your teeth go up into your sinuses? Like you have embedded teeth?
Your roots can go in your sinuses. Some people have that.
I don't trust dentists. That's a whole other conversation.
My dentist is a G. My dentist is like the only guy in the world who I've ever worked with who's a medical professional who like always does immaculate work, doesn't recommend the expensive thing, like tells me what I really need, like charges me the appropriate amount, like less than he needs to.
Dentists are the only profession, at least that I've seen in the medical field, where they warn you about the ones that are less reputable, because that happened to me. Yeah. You don't go to, radiologists or go to cardiologists and say, well, watch out for the other cardiologists that tell you the wrong thing about your heart. But when it's your teeth and there's less of a risk, they will fuck with you, some dentists, and they will recommend procedures you don't need.
Kelly went to one that like traumatized her and hurt her mouth and all this shit. And she like was literally traumatized by it and tried to call back. And the dentist like evaporated and the investigators were like on the phone with her.
Wait, what?
Yeah, well, they were like calling the office. Like the investigators were like, hold on, we're going to try and call. And then they like went on there and then came back on the line with Kelly. And they were like, they just said this doctor is on vacation, but I like don't believe them because it's like doesn't make sense. And they like, it was like the doctor evaporated.
Is this like similar to the horror story that I told in the Chilluminati podcast when I had oral surgery? How the doctor traumatized me basically doing the 3-hour almost procedure?
It's a vulnerable position to be in.
Yeah, you're at the mercy of someone with their utensils in your mouth, just drawing blood. And,
and
that's why I recommend the water pick. The water pick will clean your teeth just as well as anything at the dentist, as long as you use it every day. And it'll get rid of tartar. And you'll have to go to the dentist less. I recommend it to people on my Twitch chat, and everyone's like, yeah, when I go to the dentist, they have nothing to do. They say, hey, your teeth look great. I'm like, yep, let's put them out of business. You still need dentists here and there, but not as much as they think you need them.
Is this like, are you in the pocket of big water pick?
I will shill for big. It's not a shill because I believe in it. But yes, if Waterpick or any generic water flosser wants to sponsor the Now Common podcast, I will do it. I'll give you a discount.
Dude, give me a water pick.
I'll put my affiliate code for my Amazon generic one in the description on Spotify. That's how much I believe in the product. I'm not even kidding. It's not even a joke.
Yeah, I know. I got the good toothbrush that my dentist said, but I haven't got a water pick yet. I got to get one.
You got to get on it. They're like $30. The generic ones are even less than that, and they're fine.
Yeah, not so bad. Not so common.
Not so common. Water flosser. That's the generic.
Not so common. Yeah,
the petroleum jelly to the water picks Vaseline. That's what it is.
Yeah, exactly. But speaking of summer, I want to talk a little bit about.
You don't have to say that.
Speaking of summer, I want to talk about.
You don't have to try to do a segment. Just say, hey, summer.
Speaking of super painful stuff in your mouth this summer, the summer of Superman is like coming up next year. They're talking about DC wants to go like extra hard into Superman and just like promoting this
phrasing extra hard into Superman.
Dude, you have to go extra hard to go into Superman if you know what I'm saying. But the thing that I think is exciting about this is that it's kind of like another take from DC on their cinematic universe. And as much as I don't really give a shit about superhero movies in that way that I did in like 2012, when I was like, it was novel still that there was a movie with everybody in it.
Sure.
It just got me thinking because Superman's kind of like, if there's one Jesus in comic books, right, it's got to be Superman. And
the OG superhero.
He died. He rose again. He died for our sins on Doomsday. It's a stretch.
Okay, that wasn't originally. That was 30 years ago. But yes, that was 92.
He's the son. You get it. He's the son. It's a good. I don't know that it's 100%, but it all lines up for me right now because we've been talking about even just on the phone. I don't know much if we've gotten into it on the show. I think we probably talked about it more when I was guesting on the show, like earlier when we were talking about movies. But like we're talking about how religion like fandom is kind of becoming, and how the way that people would like use,
we talk about that. It's religion.
Yeah, the way that people would use people like get into spats and stuff about religion in the past is like how people now talk about like superhero stuff, and they argue about doctrine in a way.
The Sunni versus the Shiite, but it's for Star Wars.
Yeah, it's like the Disney versus the OG, the Kathleen Kennedy versus whoever the fuck did it in the 90s.
No one was
probably still Kathleen Kennedy. Let's be honest.
The Star Wars in the 90s was LucasArts. That was Star Wars in the 90s. That was basically it.
Yeah, that's true. And a shitload of great books. Don't count out Timothy Zahn.
Yeah, but I'm talking about the visual medium.
Don't make me do a soft promo for my podcast.
12 video games and the re-release of the special editions. That was
the greatest. That was the best of times, man. I loved the game Jedi Knight. Anyway, what the fuck am I talking about? Listen,
mythology, religion.
Some of this lore has become doctrine for some people, and I've been seeing some clips of Superman or some like on-set pics and spoilers and stuff like that. And I'm not going to get into specifics.
Why would you spoil yourself? You're Mr. DC. Why would you do that?
It's not like I'm seeking them out. It's just sometimes you're on Twitter and you catch things and
mute it.
People are excited. I don't have time to mute Superman because I want to know what's happening with Superman.
Oh God, what a
you know what I mean?
Boy.
Look,
how pathetic.
It doesn't matter. Here's the thing. I see these pictures and it looks like we're going to see a universe that much more closely resembles the comic book universe. Because if you remember when the Avengers defended New York in the movie,
I remember that very well. I mean, I was there. I just got out of Penn Station. The
one that Chitauri attacked. Yeah. No, but basically like everybody at the time was like, where were the X-Men? Like where was Captain Marvel? You know, like all the, you know,
well, they didn't exist yet in the MCU.
Yeah, exactly. But like that's what people are asking. Like, where are they? But it seems like we're getting to the point where we're seeing completely comics accurate costumes. We're seeing complicated comic book like superhero societies existing whole cloth at the beginning of a new cinematic universe. We're not going to start with a bunch of origin movies again. It doesn't seem like, hopefully.
Well, I mean, the Phase 4 started with that, but then like Shang-Chi and
look, I can't speak for Marvel. Marvel's up their own. They reap what they sow now, right? But
sure.
but DC's starting fully fresh. And I'm just
thanks to The Rock destroying what little value the DCU had
every
left
possible thing
Adam.
he could have done. Yeah, every possible step he could have taken.
Just
to
pissing in
it.
bottles on set and rooting the DCU.
Yeah. The Gerard Depardieu of comic book.
Don't kill me, Dwayne Johnson, but hey, your ego is a little bit big, buddy. I mean,
I don't think he
listens.
I don't think he's one of our listeners.
He thought he could literally change how they would make movies for the next 10 years with DC characters, and boy, was he off the mark.
He didn't even understand what Black Adam's deal was. Like, just
well, he doesn't understand that he can't carry that. He couldn't carry that movie to a successful box office. He's not as big as a star as he thought he was.
And nobody knows who the fuck Black Adam is who doesn't read comic books. Like, or
refused to have
it's a
that
pretty
character.
Deep cut.
He refused to have that character cross over into the Shazam movies where it would have been relevant.
Well, yeah, the only context by which anyone should understand Black Adam. Anyway, that aside, the point is that it's not even about whether or not, like, I happen to be a big DC Comics fan, right? I happen to be a big comic book fan in general.
You said a podcast about it, right?
Yeah, exactly. But 37 episodes strong, baby, before we
pulled the plug.
Petered out. Sometimes you got to make big boy decisions. But the thing is, just the notion of a universe that's a unified universe between all forms of media is interesting to me. And I was looking when I was talking about this the other day.
Okay, well, hold on. You're kind of burying the lead. So you're saying there's a chance that this will be a part of all DC content that comes out next year. Like it'll be in the same universe.
I don't know that that's necessarily true of this in any case, but there's enough going on here in these photos and pictures that I'm seeing that the thought entered my mind, and the thought is more interesting. The thought is more interesting than whether or not Superman Legacy is going to be good.
So the thought that came to your mind is, what if Superman Legacy exists in some multimedia continuity that also includes the comics and I guess the cartoons somehow, where it's all
and the video
same.
Games and everything. Yeah,
I mean that's a tall order logistically to handle because of the timing of comics versus doing cartoon movies versus.
But Star Wars does it effortlessly.
I don't know about effortlessly.
Well, look, like they achieve it, right? Like it actually is done. Like they have everything is canon to itself.
Well, they destroyed the canon up when
they wiped it out when Disney took over. And whether you're a fan of that or not,
no, it was awful. They got rid of Kyle Katarn, one of my favorite characters.
Yeah, but the point is just that they launched like 5 to 15 comic books at once. They all are canon. They all have there's like a bunch of books. It's all one thing. The movies, the books.
Sure,
it's all
I guess I would say here's the difference. Those Star Wars comics are probably these offshoot characters and weirdos we never heard of before. You're talking about these characters that have some of them have 80 years of legacy that you have to account for and build in. Now, that's a lot tougher to ask. You know what I mean? Like, there's so much more lore that you have to account for. There's so much more moving parts when you say, well, we're going to put out a Batman movie, but it's the same Batman as the 4 or 5 different Batman comics
not with Jesus, though. But not with Jesus, though. You know what I'm saying?
Not with Jesus. What?
Yeah, like...
That means Superman?
Well, what I'm saying is, like, the Bible, like religion, like, it's not like we're like, is this too dense? I think it's just like we need it to be
dense. Every frame has so much going on.
Every frame of painting. I think just that, like, thinking about comic book worlds, like multiverse stuff, the idea of it becoming one thing might be what we need for like peace. Like I think
like what?
Like if this is becoming our religion, because some people really just live this life. Like some people like live and die every day going to their job and making money so that they can like think about and enjoy the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Why should we cater to those fringe people?
I don't think it's fringe. I think it's like more about like the discourse has become about how things are the same or different. Like we're in the holy wars. We're in the holy wars of DC.
I think it might be overstated.
The Snyders versus the James Gunns. People are posting pictures of Zack Snyder's dead daughter's grave on his page because they are pro James Gunn's DC universe. It's bloody.
Those people are gutless. Okay. Those people are nuts.
Yeah, and so were people who were on Crusades. It's all the same thing. I'm saying we're in the holy wars. We must have peace. We must unify the timelines.
I think you're overestimating people fucking around in social media that are probably mostly shut-ins and would never even go out to a convention or, participate in a real conversation with some of these folks versus Crusaders that did it to pillage and make money.
Okay, well then
800 years ago, whenever that was. 900 years ago.
Then let's say this then. Just from let's say this from a more practical
Comparing someone on Twitter to the Templars.
Yeah, I mean, not directly.
Who started the first banks, by the way. That was very important financially.
Yeah, the Templars are very cool, or so I've heard. It's real good that they did that.
They started the financial system of the Western world. They did. Frank loves the Templars. He wants a movie about the Templars. There hasn't been a good one, by the way.
Like as the heroes?
Well, just following their adventures. I guess the best thing. I guess Kingdom of Heaven was the closest thing, but that wasn't the whole.
That movie kind of rips though. The director's cut. The director's cut of.
I've never seen it. And
really
I'm
worth a watch.
Into it. I feel like I should check it out.
Really worth a watch.
Ridley Scott.
Yeah. What were we just talking about 1 second ago?
You think that it's the same as the Crusades as people tweeting at Zack Snyder?
Obviously, it's not exactly the same. But what I'm saying is also like if we don't want to go into the like religious conversation, if that's too muddy of an analogy for you, let's just say this: cultural literacy about superheroes and what's going on. I don't think we need any sort of like people aren't anymore expected to have seen every Marvel movie. You just kind of make them now because it's almost just kind of like assumed that it's sort of like within the cultural knowledge what happened enough that you can like watch a current Marvel movie. Surely like somebody who's going to go watch the Eternals doesn't need to go watch Iron Man to get their context, right? Like people understand that there's like a world of superhero movies going on that's like too big for one person to like fully comprehend.
They established it.
Yeah.
But it's going to be very telling when basically we've had like this respite of non-superhero movies from Marvel, except for Deadpool, which doesn't even count because it's not in really the continuity of the other stuff. And now we're going to have Captain America: Brave New World come out next year, and then also the MCU version of Suicide Squad coming out. What the hell? They just
Thunderbolts.
So we're going to see. That's going to be the real test. Are people going to be back into it, or basically say, "Well, we had a good 10-year run up to Endgame, and that's it. That's all. I think
we're going to get the Xbox PlayStation flip right now on DC and Marvel. I think DC's got the memo that the only reason that we dumbed it down in the first place was because people didn't understand how complex comic book continuity is. And by unifying all the timelines as closely as possible, if Superman looks like Superman and Green Lantern looks like Green Lantern, and it's all the same guys, and we all know everything, and it's consistent between all of them, that to me is the ideal way to enjoy superheroes.
I think the ideal way
they become as real as possible in that way.
I think the ideal way to enjoy superheroes is just to make sure that people write interesting stories. And then you consume those interesting stories if they're good, and that's it.
That's like on a movie to movie basis. I think that's absolutely true.
I mean, I just mean in general, not just the movies. I mean, remember, 15 years ago is when we started with this the more, I guess, postmodern, you want to call it superhero movies with Iron Man. Before that, it was like, okay, you have to read comic books or watch cartoons of it. And then obviously at the time, Forever Warner dominated because they had way superior cartoons than the Marvel ones. And now
the movies even.
And now it's like the comics aren't. If the comics disappear tomorrow, would not matter to the bottom line of Disney and Warner Brothers because they can make the TV shows, they can make the cartoons and the movies, right, and the video game stuff. And that's not how it was for the first almost 70 years of these comics. That's why it's so strange now, where it doesn't matter anymore what the comics actually have.
Because but everybody was reading the same, like in the 30s or the 40s, right? Everybody who was reading Shazam at its height when Shazam was like as big as Superman.
You mean Captain Marvel? Was Charlton Comics?
Yeah, exactly.
Or Wiz Comics?
Like when Captain Marvel was at its peak, outselling Superman with like 3 or 4 books in the line or
That was
whatever
like
it was.
mid-40s or so.
Yeah. Like people were all just reading the same exact guys in one universe, in one thing, and different things were happening to them. And after that, the movies were just kind of like one-offs that were kind of like a story themed after those universes, and they weren't trying to say like, oh, this is like the Bladeverse. And so what I'm kind of proposing is that there's a product now that exists that is, and this is not my idea, obviously, but like the idea of a universe as a entertainment medium, I think benefits from one reality between it all. Like it doesn't, like I think that it simplifies a lot of the problems that people have with selling comic books, for example, to people who are watching a movie, or people who are playing a video game transferring to watching the movie or reading the comic book. Or
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I guess if in some world that could happen, I just think with the amount of weird shit that happens in comics where you need to... How many times has DC rebooted their universe in the past 20 years? At least twice, right? At least.
More than that, but also like it's still continuous, like even beyond the reboots. Like
So, okay.
Yeah.
But that's the point. If you can't trust your team to keep an interesting comic universe going without rebooting it every 5 to 10 years, then I do not think you
but
can
they don't
also...
really, yeah.
Then you
they don't
cannot
really
throw
reboot
in...
it, though.
You cannot then also throw in a messy... Because films can be very messy for a lot of different reasons. Because of the money involved, the time involved. If they're a failure, your whole plans go out the window, like we saw with the DCU, which just ended in the past 6 months, 8 months. The last one was Aquaman 2, which didn't matter. And then Shazam 2, no one saw. And then the freaking the Beetleborg-looking guy from
Blue
last
Beetle.
summer. No one saw that either. So the point is that it's a lot messier the more entities you kind of get involved. I just don't... I see what you're saying because of Star Wars, but there's a lot less moving parts with Star Wars than having 50 different superheroes to worry about.
Well, I
and
mean,
all
if
these
you're gonna
villains.
use a comic book reboot as the example, though, right? Like comic book reboots, other than the one time they did it with the New 52, which was like unprecedented what they did. It was like in all the newspapers because of how crazy it was.
They've done it
what they
before since then, haven't they? They've
No,
done it again.
not in the way they did with New 52, where they literally threw everything out and started everything with number
Well,
one.
they did it
within the
first
news
in
story.
Crisis in the mid-'80s.
No, but even the Crisis wasn't really about rebooting the universe. The Crisis is just about sort of like
They got rid of what they didn't want and condensed it down.
but it's like correcting inconsistencies, like the fact that like old stories about Batman were set in the 40s and new stories about Batman are set in the 70s. How could that be possible? Like just stuff like that was like what they were addressing, and they come up with a new status quo that like works. It's not really about throwing out the old and addressing the new. And I don't think even that it's a problem when that happens. I think it's more important that it happens at the same time across all media, because then it's possible to be a fan of the thing.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
So
Like
you're saying if there was a unified comic, cartoon, movie universe, it would be easier for fans to get more involved.
Yeah.
It'd be
and
less confusing.
Yeah, and I think that like Elseworld stuff, there's still place for it, but I think like Marvel did that really well with that show that's like a what ifs like show, like anthology.
The What If series.
Like that's a great way to have fun with stuff like that and not have to like make up a stupid universe like Deadpool and Wolverine.
Yeah, sure, but the one-offs, but the What If stories are one-off stories though. Like it goes back to they first started doing those the early 70s, and some are really fun. Some are like they're all Twilight Zone because it's like, whoa, what if we did something better? But then it always ends up worse.
Yeah, I love those.
Have you read some of those?
I've read about, yeah.
Spoilers. If the Phoenix didn't die on that alien planet and continue on, she would consume the entire universe. Spoilers. So if she's, I don't know if you read that one, but I own that comic.
The What If of Phoenix?
Yeah, it's literally, because her hunger grew more and more and more. Then she started eating planets, and then she basically kills all the X-Men, and then consumes the entire universe, the Phoenix Force.
Even Galactus? Galactus got eaten, bro? That's crazy.
She's consuming stars.
That's crazy.
She can eat Galactus. So she could. So and then what was the other one? If Gwen Stacy survived, I forget what happens, but it's like bad Twilight Zone stuff. That's basically, it's always worse.
I enjoy that. I just enjoy that from the narrative perspective, but it's very easily like you don't have to get angry when you want to try a new idea when it's a what if.
I just think I think that people should just remember the comic books. They were, I'm not trying to talk down, but they were originally designed for children to read. The medium is a certain way where you follow the same exact character for 50 years. And it is what it is. It just let's not try to overthink the trappings of the medium and just enjoy it for what it is. That's my opinion.
Yeah.
Because growing up, I never thought about, well, why is Peter Parker still 21 years old, but he's been around for, at this point, 25 years? Like, I didn't think about that. I didn't care. It's just, it is what it is. It's like a comic strip that lasts for 90 years. You don't think about why is Blondie hasn't dyed her hair because she's going gray yet. It just is what it is.
Well, but it's fine. Like, okay, like if we do need to run back the clock, we run back the clock on the whole universe. And then it's not like, well, the movie universe is set here and this happens in the universe. And in this universe, this guy's a lawyer and this guy's the Hawkeye of this universe. But in this universe, he's an old man version of Hawkeye and there's like a younger Hawkeye. And that's like a totally different universe than the zombie universe, which is over here. Like, that's what's fucking up the comic book problem right now, is that every time like Spider-Man, they need a new Spider-Man, they like drop the old shit and they completely pick up new shit, and everybody's like, like, well,
they combined the Ultimate with the 616 universe, what, like 10 years ago, whenever it was?
Yeah, but now they just relaunched the Ultimate universe.
Well, because they want more money, they have more books. They fucked up. So basically what happened was you can't have everything, right? So if you're going to have TV shows and movies that people are going to consume, and that's going to be how 4-year-olds discover these superheroes, you're just not going to sell comics anymore. That's it. You have to accept it. You have to accept. You're always going to have people that buy the comics, but it's not going to be how it was growing up, or if you were 6 years old, you were buying the comics, reading them every month. That's gone. That's not coming back. Sorry. That's it. That's the reality you live in. You want to make $1 billion per movie? Great. You're not going to be making shit on these comics anymore that you're selling. You cannibalize your own business to be more successful at one entity than the other. I still think you can build a media empire, and I think they have a media empire, Alex. It's not people reading comic books anymore.
I just mean from like, how do I say this? Like, I think James Gunn's vision is something close to what I'm saying.
Well, we'll see. I'm actually looking forward to it because I want a Superman that's not dark, gritty, moody. And we haven't had a proper Superman movie in like 40 years.
Have you read Superman and the Authority?
No, I haven't read a new comic book besides the graphic novel collections or compilations I get at Comic-Con, where it's like, oh, I'm going to read The Streets of Poison arc from Captain America 1989-90.
Classic like X-Men number 94.
Like that's it. That's X-Men number 94. Was that the first one with the new group?
That's the real X-Men number 94, yeah.
The Uncanny, that's the first one after Giant Size in the early, in like 71 or 72? Yep.
75?
Anyway, 75. Okay, so it was like a full like 11 years because X-Men started in like 64. It was a little bit after all the other ones, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, I know my stuff.
X-Men
I know a little bit.
X-Men is cool, you guys.
I never liked X-Men until the cartoon. I never got into it. And then I read some of the, obviously it had its zenith in like the early 90s. X-Men was like the most popular comic. So
Claremont's unbelievable, yeah.
They had like 4 different ones, and they had the fold-out covers and the chromium, and helped contribute to the video game, to the comic book crash of like 94, you want to call it. Something like that. All right. That's all I got on Superman. I'll see it in theaters probably.
And think about religion. I just want the listeners to think about our fictional universe as our religion, because I think they kind of are.
No, if you allow it to consume your life and your belief system, I guess it could be, but I don't see.
Some people are just Christian or like Muslim
or Jedi
or Jewish or whatever.
I see it as an escapism that consumes one's life up to an unhealthy degree. That's what I think it is.
Yeah, but some people have a healthy. It's like like Disney adults. How there's like people that are like kind of like.
Yes, they go to Disney every year.
There's some people that are bankrupting themselves, and some people just are having a great time.
Yeah, they need therapy. The people that are bankrupting themselves because they're Disney folks, like as adults, they need therapy.
Yeah, that's different.
They're
But
ruining their lives because they want to somehow experience the magic when they're 49 years old. And it's like, well, okay, but you got to send your kids to college still.
you just need a rewarding and positive relationship with Superman.
You need a rewarding positive relationship with Superman.
Yeah, that's what you need.
Do you feel you have some fandoms that are close to religion because you get too invested?
I'm very much an enjoyer of these things from like mechanical, writerly, cultural perspective outside of the world. I don't really get too caught up in like
no, not an X-Men.
I don't get too caught up in like I was the guy who liked The Last Jedi because it did something interesting, even though it gutted Luke, the character, in the eyes of so many. Like, I didn't care about that because I just don't have an emotional stake in it in that way. So I was like, oh no. Neat. How interesting.
My emotional stake was gone with the Phantom Menace because it was garbage.
Well, whatever. The point is just that I just am not affected in that way where I'm emotionally invested so much. I just love the X-Men because I think it's really good.
The Phantom Menace caused me to sell my Star Wars toy collection. Not directly, but within 2 years I sold it. I had a good collection because I collected when I was a teenager.
I got to get you on the Star Wars show and talk about the Phantom Menace when we do that. That would be so funny.
Oh, if there is some revisionism, this revisionism, the prequels are good shit. These folks are, because they were 3 years old when they saw it and they had no frame of reference.
Have you seen it since 1999?
Huh?
Have you seen it since 1999?
Oh, I've caught it on TV here and there, parts of it. Absolutely.
You haven't sat down and
start to finish?
Yeah.
I don't know about that. I'd have to. Why, you think I'd enjoy it more?
I don't think that you'll suddenly think it's better, but I think you will actually enjoy it more. Yeah.
I think the plot would make sense and be interesting.
No, I don't think you'd suddenly be like, this movie's actually good. I don't think it's that good of a movie.
I would think Jar Jar's an endearing character and works as a comedic device. It's just a more enjoyable, especially in contrast to the other two. It's just a much more movie of a movie than I remembered. I think Darth Maul wasn't a wasted villain. If I watch it again, I can go on. I can do this the whole show.
It's not that the movie is good. It's not that. I just think that in your advanced years, as you've mellowed on it a bit.
Years? Am I AARP over here? Advanced years.
It was 25 years ago.
I know. I saw it. We're getting off topic. I saw it because the reviews coming out were lukewarm about it. Get it? Yeah. Lukewarm. And I was like, well, that's not good because this should be everyone should love this.
Yeah.
I waited until the next weekend to see it, Saturday, and it was the theater was only 15% packed, and I walked out numb. I was like, wow. It was almost like I waited that long and consumed all these video games the past decade that were amazing, like Dark Forces, X-Wing, TIE Fighter. I went to see the special editions. I bought the fucking THX box set because they said this is the last time.
The one with Leonard Maltin?
The last time these will be available. Yes, because you're going to add all this bullshit to him in 2 years, in 97. I did all that, and I said all that for this. It was the biggest letdown, I think, ever in terms of
how old were you?
I was 19.
19. So I was in 5th or 6th grade at this time.
You were 10, so that's why you like it better. Than
I didn't. I didn't hate it. I didn't come out hating it. But the thing that's funny to me about the Phantom, the thing that's funny to me about the Phantom Menace is that even as a 10 or 11-year-old or whatever I was, 11 or 12-year-old, I literally remember being like, ooh. I literally remember being like, I don't know.
The only time I had that experience like that where I walked out numb was that and Spider-Man 3, where I was like, it wasn't bad.
I loved Spider-Man.
But that was such a strange letdown after how brilliant 2 was. I was like, I said to myself, wow, they fucked up. They fucked up brilliantly what was set up in 2 because and Venom, I said they cannot do Venom in one movie. At the time, the rumors were they were shooting 3 and 4 back to back, which is what they should have done.
It was a Twin Peaks season 2 scenario where he did something different than what he wanted because they forced him to do Venom.
Yeah, Raimi should have said, go fuck yourself. I've made you so much money with these first 2 movies. Let me do what I want. And Avi Arad said, no, you have to do Venom because that's what the kids want. And Venom is not really an interesting character overall to me. That's a whole other conversation. We're talking too much about
him and Spider-Man, that's not the best part of Venom is when he crosses over with Spider-Man. It's almost incidental that they cross over anymore. It's way more fun when Venom is just off doing Venom shit.
Yeah, I will never see these Venom movies because there's.
Man, do yourself a favor.
If Venom is not interesting to me as a whole, and he's only interesting to me because of his relationship to Spider-Man, taking out that relationship, I have zero interest in the character. I just don't for these movies. I'm like, okay,
it's like idle hands, you know. It's like you know, there's like like a second voice in your body. It's kind of just a fun caper in that way, and then it's a monster, right? Venom. Hey, Morbius.
Fun.
Hey.
Yeah.
No Spider-Man though.
And then Madam Web, which I said I couldn't believe they're making a movie into that, and I still don't believe that came out.
I purchased this movie on 4K Blu-ray for like $11.99 just so that I can watch it one day, but I don't have the bravery to like put it into my Blu-ray player.
If we ever do a Patreon, we're gonna watch Madam Web together.
Oh man, we're just gonna by the end of the movie we're gonna be like crushed under the heel of like the collapse of culture. Ooh,
it's still going to collapse because Kraven they pushed back Kraven like a whole year, and that's still going to come out.
How are they going to do the Kraven movie without Spider-Man? That's like the best Spider-Man story. It's not the best, but it's one of the best. It's one of the best.
But the last hunt is the only reason why people remember Kraven at all.
Yeah, exactly. He's such a goofy ass villain otherwise.
That they made it mean something. A goofy 60s original Sinister Six villain.
Yeah.
And I'm not looking forward
to Kite Man.
Like what?
Like Kite Man from Batman.
I would say it's a little bit better than Kite Man.
Don't talk shit on Kite Man, man. He had a rough one.
He had a rough one?
Dude,
let's move on from superhero talk.
Shout out to the war of jokes and riddle.
We're not talking about video games. We're talking about superheroes for 45 minutes.
You got so hyped to talk about the X-Men. You had a lot of facts on deck about the X-Men.
It's not on deck. I know general. I'm like general historical comic book guy. I know the general history of comics.
I've played like 36 hours of X-Men Children of the Atom in the last like week and a half because of that stupid ass re-release.
Did they re-release the beat 'em up?
No, the
fighting game. The fighting game.
Children
That's what I made my main cabinet out of. That was the first of all the Marvel themed fighting games.
The best. It has such beautiful sprites. Anyway,
they did Street Fighter versus X-Men and Marvel versus
yeah.
Anyway,
let's talk about young people now.
Well, first of all, something happened. We're going to talk about politics, and before we get people coming after us, I'm not going to tell you who you should vote for. Alex May, that's his prerogative. At this point, you know who you're. At this point, you know who you're voting for.
Kamala Harris is who you should vote for.
To me, it's not interesting personally to tell you who or why I'm voting for someone. That's not to me an interesting conversation because it's all confirmation bias or anti-confirmation bias. And to me, that's not an interesting conversation. And people either get, oh, you're so right, Pat, or, oh, fuck you, Pat, you disagree with me. That's not interesting. What I want to talk about is numbers and statistics in a way, and my prediction of the election based upon what has been happening in our demographics.
Yeah, and honestly, you're right. Like, in the end, it's not going to be about how anybody feels about anything. It's going to be clearly just about how many people feel each way. It's not going to be like, if you believe hard enough, you're going to suddenly cancel out somebody who
there's not really any undecided voters left out there. They claim to. We'll talk about the debate happened right after the last podcast. The second
it's a cry for help if you're saying you don't know who you're going to vote for.
Well, that's what I'll get
at this point. That's a cry for help.
So they had the debate. The second debate, the first one with Biden was a disaster for the Democrats because Biden couldn't complete sentences and looked like he was tired.
It wasn't our best day.
Okay, no, I don't know why you're saying "our" like you're in the Democratic National.
I just mean the entire world is who.
Oh no, it was an embarrassment. But then again, we haven't had like a respectable. The last respectable presidential race we had was in 2012. So with Romney and Obama. Anyway, so the debate happened again with a new choice, Kamala Harris, who is almost 24 years younger than old Joe and 20 years younger than Trump.
If you're like an old ass dude whose brain is shutting down and you have to go do a debate, she's pretty much your worst nightmare, like just from her job.
Yeah, she's a former prosecutor. Yeah. She's an attorney and prosecutor, and they know how to sick on you. I think she even
has like debate club like pedigree. I think she actually like won some like weird debate like awards or some shit like that.
And she's intelligent and quick on her feet. And that's not me being political. That's my personal opinion based upon what I've seen of her career and of her personally. Either way, even Fox News said that Trump got his ass kicked in the last debate. Even Trump News, for almost Freudian slip. Fox News said that, yeah, Trump should not debate her again. It would not go well. So
it takes a lot for me to like feel for that man, like as a like confused old man who like doesn't know where he is and what he's talking about.
He
like,
knew where he was, but he was not in control of his emotions. She baited him.
He started talking about shit a couple times that just didn't even. I just
eating
felt
dogs and cats.
I just felt, yeah, whatever. Like I don't even want to like talk about that, like how stupid that fucking is. But like, it just felt almost like I actually was like, oh no, like oh man, he's like lost something. He like felt the glimmer of his like the thing that I don't know. It just felt
his hold
bad.
is gone, or the magic trick has ended from 8 years ago.
I just can't imagine anymore. Like I used to watch him and I used to get mad. Obviously, it's no secret who I am voting for. I agree with Pat that like to each their own, and I'm not here to like flame the vitriol or whatever. But like real talk, like it's been a long time since I always get frustrated watching him because I see like the like what I call like, you know, and maybe some people will just agree with him, but I call it like populism and like demagoguery type behavior that he does.
Yeah, it's I said that in 2016 that he was a demagogue.
Yeah. And I see him do that type of stuff, and I usually find myself angry because I can be like, that's gonna fucking work. This fucking dumb bullshit is gonna fucking work. But at this debate, I was like, oh no, like whoa.
So what is a demagogue, real quick? The noun. A political leader who seeks support by appealing to the desires and prejudices of ordinary people rather than by using rational argument. So basically someone that comes up at you with fears and fluster and firebranding and rabble-rousing, things like that.
We're tired of being treated like shit.
Yeah,
we
we're going to take our country back
better.
from the others.
Yeah.
So that's what a demagogue is, and I mean, I don't think that's a controversial thing to say. You know, I mean, if you don't think he's doing that and you support him, okay, we'll agree to disagree. But I guess the point is this. After the last debate, they talked to, CNN had like 19 people from Pennsylvania that were quote-unquote undecided. I don't think most of them were undecided. I think they wanted to be on TV. But that said, when after the debate, they said, how many of you are now no longer undecided? And like 13 of them put their hand up out of 19. And they said, well, how many of you are going for Harris instead of Trump? And it was like 9 for Harris and like 4 for Trump. So I was like, okay. Then they talked to the people and got their information about, well, why do you think that? And a lot of it was confirmation bias or was saying, well, I need to learn more. And so at that point, I was like, okay, if you were still undecided, I don't know what the hell else you needed to hear. But that's neither here nor there. There's not many other people going to be breaking late that are independent, undecided voters, right? So obviously Harris has been going up in the national polls over the past 6 to 8 weeks since she was announced as a candidate. And it's a foregone conclusion that Trump will likely not win the popular vote. That's even people on the right are in agreement that that's probably not possible since he hasn't won at the past 2 elections a popular vote. And there's not as many voters, which we'll get into, that exist on the GOP anymore in terms of density of population. But the electoral college that's where it's at. That's what matters. Not if you get 10 million more votes. It doesn't matter unless it's distributed properly in our electoral college process.
On the one hand, that sucks that's true, but nevertheless, it is true.
I'm not going to get into the electoral college pros and cons. Some states have already, in their state legislatures, have ratified, start the process to repeal it. And going through the good old, a new amendment to the Constitution, which we haven't had a new amendment in like 30 years now. We are overdue to amend our Constitution.
If it's that, I would be overjoyed. I remember high-fiving somebody in Jack in the Box when Obama won. I would high-five somebody in the Jack in the Box over repealing the Electoral College.
You were high-fiving in Jack in the Box.
It was like Pokemon Go came out, man. Okay. It was crazy back then.
I voted for McCain back then, so I was not high-fiving. I was like, all right, whatever.
I was a college student in Southern California. Where do you think my head was at, my man?
Yeah, I was Team Romney for sure. Romney was the most disappointed I was. I honestly thought if Romney's elected, he'll run this shit better, like as a technocrat. And I was like really disappointed. I was just like, man, he could have got some shit done. As like he would have ran it like Like he ran the businesses. It was like, all right, let's streamline this shit. Let's get going. And I was just like, oh, whatever. It is what it is. But that was the last decent election we had, I thought, in my opinion, where we weren't just like tearing.
I couldn't agree more. I couldn't agree more.
Even though I will say, I will editorialize. The Democrats went below the belt with Romney, which I did not like, and to this day, I think they have not paid their penance for how underhandedly they attacked his character in that election. I thought it was below the belt. And that, not saying that led directly to 16, but I think to some Republicans, 16 was a revenge tour for 2012 because of that. Looking back at a larger macro level, because they're like, well, we were pushed around in 2012, and we're not going to be pushed around
My
anymore.
thing is, I just look at Mitt Romney, and I think about like the range of feelings that I am capable of feeling for the man Mitt Romney, and the idea that I could be that angry on the behalf of somebody like Mitt Romney that somehow I end up voting for Trump, it doesn't compute within my brain.
Well, I'm saying,
yeah,
he was attacked for weird
he's such
shit
a soft,
that didn't matter.
gentle uncle of a man.
He was attacked for, binders full of women, when it was like he was attacked for being weird when he was trying to hire more women, like something positive. And the fact that he was awkward about the phrasing of it, he was attacked for, and it's just like, that was so unfair to his character. I'm not trying to go to bat for him, but it was just like, it's still this day is like, it was wrong to me.
That was the day you lost faith in the U.S. election system and like what people vote based on.
I didn't lose faith in the system, but to me, it was like the first time they went really low for any candidate, because that didn't happen with McCain at all. It was like, we disagree, but he's
remember
a war
the
hero.
thing about where Obama was born? That's pretty low.
But birtherism, that didn't come from McCain or his cabinet.
No, but I just like, that was pretty low. Yeah.
Yeah, but that wasn't from like the GOP attacking Obama for that directly. That's my point in 08. We're going back. We're playing history and we're going off topic here. Obviously, things got a lot worse in 2012. Excuse me, 2016.
We can both agree that politics felt a lot more legitimate then than they do now. And even though we were on the complete opposite sides of that situation, there's nothing about what went down then that I'm like, I will never understand you. I will never understand you, Pat. I will never. Yes. How could you? Mitt Romney, how could you?
The differences were a lot smaller.
Yeah.
Back then, I mean, there's
real and based in fact. There's real policy.
There's a famous SNL sketch from 2000 when it was Gore versus Bush. And the whole crux of the joke of the sketch was that they really did not disagree on anything, the candidates. You remember that? I remember it was like, well, I agree on that. Because back then, our political differences were, okay, how do we handle Social Security for the future? How do we handle federal spending and the deficit? And for the most part, it was like, well, public schooling versus private, should we do vouchers for people that decide they don't want their kids going to public school? Like, those were the big issues back in 2000.
Real issues, like meaningful to the everyday person. People were thinking about it, watching stories on the news, engaging with the actual things that were affecting their actual lives.
But real, like, policy issues that you can make arguments for and against, and this is why I think...
Yeah, exactly.
This is why I think we should do this for Social Security. This is why we should privatize it. No, this is why we should keep our current system, but tax here. Like, that's what the debates were back then. And obviously now it's about more existential views of the world and how we talk about engaging with each other. That's what's happened over the past 25 years. Slowly but surely, that's how it's devolved. And social media obviously has contributed to that in negative ways. That said, after the debate, I'm getting off topic here. I'm just extolling about my random thoughts on politics.
We just watched an insane debate happen that was like extremely a loss for Trump, which is rare.
We watched a debate happen where I would not write that debate for a movie script because it was that unbelievable. I didn't think we'd talk about weird stories about eating pets in a debate that was like one of the candidates is like laughing at, like, are you kidding me? Like, what are you talking about? But that was the debate. So this is what I'm getting into, though. Like, how is this election shaping up nationally? And I'm trying to leave my personal politics out of it and look at just what are the numbers here. And there's a few different things going on. So voter registration is spiking amongst the younger folks, the young adults. Like the people that this is their first time they are going to be voting in a presidential election. This is an MSN article. Yes, MSN's still around. The Microsoft Network. That was one of my first ISPs I had in the mid 90s. It's breaking records. Voter registration is breaking records as election day approaches, particularly among young people, many of whom are first-time voters. This is an article from Maya Marchell from USA Today. On Tuesday's National Voter Registration Day, more than 150,000 people registered through vote.org, the most the organization has ever seen in that day. The organization registered 279,000 voters all of last year. So they hit half of that in one day this year.
More than half, right?
More than half in one day. Last week, 337,826 people visited a link on Instagram from Taylor Swift that directed them to their state's voter registration site. 337,000 people. Because, hey, it's on their Instagram, and obviously she came out for Harris. So there you go. With her cat.
A third of a million.
Took a swipe.
So
I'll just say
much.
this about JD Vance. If I was voting the GOP out there, I'd be super pissed at JD Vance.
He's like Sarah Palin. He's
for riling up the most popular celebrity on the face of the earth in order to get her fans to vote against you. On its surface, that is a stupid political move. So obviously saying that only lonely cat women vote Democratic, just JD, that's not gonna. You don't want to antagonize any base of people, whether or not you think it's true or not. And then Taylor Swift is holding the kitty cat in her picture on Instagram, telling people to vote against you. Like, you don't do that, JD.
It's an easy.
JD.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I want you to get into power, but let's just for a second see. I'm your consultant. Don't open your mouth and say things like that. Just don't. Just keep your mouth closed. Don't have someone with 1 billion social media followers out for your blood. Just don't do it.
He has the vibe of like a sort of like guy whose privilege has made him into one of the most popular people in school, and he wears like a, like nice outfit to school every day, and he has like a car before he's 18 years old. I know that's the opposite of his book story, but like he has that essence where he has that, and then he thinks that it's because he's right and the best.
Vote.org has previously told USA Today that about 80% of people they register turn out in the next election. That's a big number. According to Vote.org, voters under 35 made up 81% of Tuesday's registrations, with the biggest spike among 18-year-olds. So it used to be like 20 years ago, Alex, 25 years ago, that it was hard to get people out to vote. Like if you got like 35, 40% of registered voters out, that was considered a good day back then. Now it's like, well, we're getting a chunk of the population that votes out these past few cycles. Like we've turned it around because obviously we're more divided now, so we have stronger feelings, but that's the reality of it. So here's the deal, right? What's happened in the last 4 years? We've had Roe v. Wade overturned, and that's been a very critical policy change in the states for a lot of folks with very deep-seated opinions about being pro-life or having reproductive freedoms. That's gotten a lot of people out to vote. We saw it in 2022 when it was supposed to be the red wave. It was supposed to be a crushing defeat in the House.
I was depressed about it. I was like having to like square myself for the time when I was going to have to like witness that occur tomorrow. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So what happened then? Somehow the Democrats almost took the House. They barely lost it.
The candles were still burning. Yeah.
And they took the Senate. And it was like remarkable. It was like, what? What just happened? So that's where we're at 2 years later. So I did some pat math on it. And thanks for putting out this link, Alex, about the Pew Research voting patterns from 2022. So they talk to young voters, and they do polls and things like that. So by a rate of 68 to 31 in 2022, that's more than double the young voters went Democratic in 2022. 2-to-1 ratio, age 18 to 29. 2-to-1 for that 11-year grouping or 12-year grouping, technically, from 1829. That's remarkable, and that's not good for the GOP's future, because that's telling you that, well, what's happening here? Our messages are so far off from the younger folk that 2-1 they are going away from us right now. And that's almost going to be impossible to overcome in the future.
That's the party that the Republicans are by design right now, is like, I would argue that they're hyper conscious of the fact that they're losing the actual majority because of the way that they have been sort of, you know, policy wise trying to like girder support around, like, you know, making it harder to vote if you're in certain demographics and things like that. It's a way to in targeted parts of the country that are tactically viable, because it's the only way that you can hold on to power when you're and visibly just slowly losing your grasp. Yeah.
And gerrymandering congressional seats, which that's happened with both parties though forever. But I don't know how that's legal. We need a constitutional amendment to get rid of that. Whole other conversation.
I would much rather nobody be able to do it than anybody.
It should not be legal at all in any state. I mean, that's ridiculous.
It's literally anti-democratic. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. It's anti-democracy. Okay, so you have a 2-1 voting split that happened 2 years ago among 18 to 29 years olds. So what did Pat do? I was like, well, we haven't had a presidential election in 4 years. So how many new people age 18 to 22 that haven't voted for a president before are going to vote this year, roughly? So I looked up online who was born in the U.S. roughly from like 2006 to like 2008, like within those like 3-4 years. You know, this will be their first time they could be voting, right? So it was between 8 to 10,000 people a day born in the U.S. every day, roughly those like 2-3 years. So I put down 8,000 new voters born every day about 18 to 20 years ago. So that means you multiply, this is Pat math time, you multiply 8,000 people born a day back then times 365 days and then times 4, right?
Yep.
That gets you 11.7 million new people in theory, and that's on the low end, that never voted for a president before that are now old enough to vote this year, right? We'll just say out of 11.7 million, we'll just say, all right, 11 million, it's a little bit below that, but 11,700,000. Pat math. We'll say, I'll be generous, I'll say only 60% of them registered to vote. That's probably a little low. It's probably higher than that. I'll say 60% times 0.6. That gets you to just over 7 million people, right? And then based upon the splits we saw 2 years ago, 2-1, so that's 67%. We'll multiply 7 million times 0.67. That is 4.7 million new voters for the Democrats versus about 2.3 for the GOP. So that's a net of over 2.5 million almost positive for the Democrats in the past 4 years.
That's so
that's conservative.
That's a significant number when the what do you call them? Like the margins are much lower than that often.
Correct.
In races
so what does
all
that
over
tell
the
you?
country.
That tells you that the popular vote, in my opinion, will not be closer than what it was 4 years ago. It'll be wider apart on the Democratic side. Now it just matters, where does that's a net positive, I just said, of like 2.5 million. That's a net positive. Where does those voters fall? Do they all fall into California, where it won't matter because we're in California, you're already up 30 points. But will they fall into some of the battleground states? Will they fall into Georgia, where it's close, or Arizona?
Pennsylvania is close.
Or North Carolina? That's my point. The point is this. My Pat prediction is that it won't even be close. Like, it won't even be close in terms of national. It could be like Harris is 7 points ahead nationally. It could be 53-45. It can be 8 points. The issue, though, is where do those extra votes fall? Where do they fall into each state? Will they matter? I think they'll have to, but will it be enough to move the needle on these very close races?
My feeling is that birth rates are like higher in places in the middle of the country, but I don't know why I think that.
I didn't break it. If I really wanted to, I could have broke down the births by states, but then it's like, oh, they're still living there. And obviously that doesn't count immigrants that became naturalized citizens.
Which is not an insignificant number either.
Yes, I went low on purpose. I went, well, 8,000 a year instead of 10,000. You know what I mean? And I went, well, what if only 60% registered to vote instead of like 80%? You know, I went low on purpose, but like 2.5 million net gain nationally, I am confident that that's what's happening this time out. And I'm not going to get super morbid about the loss of voters due to COVID deaths in the past 4 years. Or
also not insignificant.
It's at least 1 million people. We know that. And if you look at the graphs of what counties, the majority were in GOP voting counties.
By devastating rates, by devastating amounts.
I'm not trying to get morbid, but I'm looking at the cold, hard facts. The GOP lost more voters to death the past 4 years than the Democrats were on top of it. So that 2.5 million new margin, it's larger than that, probably, based upon the death, and plus the older population dying off. But so that's what numbers-wise I'm looking at. So when you see these national polls where, you know, Harris is usually up like 2 points or 3.
She's up 5 right now.
I don't think it's that close. I really don't. I don't have money on it, but I will, because I predicted successfully 4 years ago on predicted.org, and I put my money where my mouth is. But that's my thoughts on, that's Pat's prediction, is that Harris wins nationally by 6 to 7 points probably. But then it's where do the votes fall? And I think odds are she will win the Electoral College. I just don't know how close it's going to be, because you don't know where those extra votes fall out.
That's true.
Does my logic make sense? You following that?
It does. There's still a lot of obviously like question mark areas that could skew it at any point if there's a metric that we don't understand.
Yeah, and people might say, well, the voting patterns, Pat, might not be the same as 2/3 Democrat for 18 to 29 as 2 years ago. I will say, yeah, they're not going to flip though for the GOP side in 2 years. It might be closer. Hell, it might be wider apart in 2 years. But the point is that the Democrats are literally gaining more voters. Democrats every day, more people are turning 18 and are being registered to vote, that the Democrats are winning those battles every day up until the election. And they have for the past several years.
Yeah, I don't think anybody really wants to like, what am I saying? Like, I don't think anybody really wants to like have a decision right now. I feel like both people that are voting think they're saving the country. And it's a pretty weird vibe.
I'm not even talking about feelings. I'm just looking at the numbers. I'm a numbers guy.
Well, I know, but in the end of the day, right? Like, what side of that coin they land on depends on how they feel about it.
Yes,
you know?
obviously.
And so it's kind of, I'm just trying to put myself in the mind of both sides, and I can see absolutely why I'm behind my candidate as a Democrat. I'm not really like a big time Democrat, right? Like, that's not, I don't love to like associate with the Democratic Party that much.
Sure.
You know, I'm more of a liberal than I am a Democrat, right? But like, real talk, like, I can't imagine where I'm at as a Republican that's not like hate based right now, where I'm like squarely like sure that Trump's my guy. That's all. Like, and it's not because of like anything other than like the same way people were feeling when they saw Biden in that debate. And suddenly everybody wants him to drop out of the race. Like, people were diving off the Democratic, ballot. People were diving off the Democrat train after that debate, and I'm just
sure. Especially because they realize that, hey, like, this is just not reasonable anymore. And it's funny because I had a lot of. It's funny how people on the internet think I'm. Sometimes I've been to people on the internet either right wing or left wing, which I guess it means I'm just being myself and giving my opinions. But if you can categorize me as either, and I am neither of those things.
I don't know if you're right wing. Yeah.
I've been described as right wing before. I guarantee you, the fact that I said I voted for Romney, people will say I'm right wing.
Romney, again, like I say, like, how are we mad about Romney? Romney is not.
Well, people were back then. They disparaged him anyway. So, what was I saying? Great. Now I lost my train of thought. You got me picturing my Lord and Savior Romney. No, I'm kidding. So the point is that I have a point. Stop bringing up Romney. What was the last thing I said?
Oh, yeah.
The splits between the young people. I'm looking at this Pew Research. It was actually less in 2020. 18 to 29 was only 61 to 35 for 18 to 29. So it increased to 68-31 in 2022. I'm not saying it's going to increase more, but again, even if it went down a little bit, it's disaster for the GOP and their future.
Yeah, I don't think it did. I think that there's a lot of cause to believe that most of the people registering to vote, by some margin, are registering on to vote for Kamala. It's not really a judgment of anybody's policies at this point. It's just literally like a simple question of like, what vibes are you after at this point? Like, there's nobody's
like
thinking
I said,
about
Roe v. Wade
Yeah.
changed a lot to a lot of people and young people, because like this is an issue that can affect my life personally, like next week. So
Yeah.
I was like, well, I should, or it could affect, if I'm a guy, affect my friend.
Women
next
are
week.
bleeding out in the street. It's people are dying because of this. Like there's you're seeing stories all over the country of people.
That's
being
where the
galvanized.
GOP, to me, sold their political soul for the future, for the next generation, because by kowtowing to those folks, you've given up any center you had left in your party. That it'll be extremely hard to get back to even center right because of that, and that's why I could say with some confidence in these things, because I honestly was not shocked. I was surprised. I was not shocked that Clinton lost in 2016, because there was weird vibes around Hillary, and of course the Comey FBI investigation announcement a week before
like
the election.
1,000 years ago now. It's like unbelievable how mad I was about that.
Either way, the GOP has won the popular vote in the presidential election once since 1992. Once in the past 8 cycles, they have won the popular vote, and that was in 2004.
When, like, after 9/11, when George Bush was the president and we were like at war in the Middle East.
Yeah, but people were tired of the Iraq War, but Kerry was kind of milquetoast to people, and people didn't want, I think, to just pull out and give up all our gains we had in the Middle East, and that was why I said, well, we'll just stay the course now.
I
in
think
2004.
there was just genuine support for the Iraq War at that time.
No, there was the election wasn't too far apart in 2004. It wasn't like a landslide.
I just mean it, but they did win the popular vote, which almost never happens.
But he didn't win it in 2000.
Yeah.
So,
but 9/11 hadn't happened yet.
Sure, but the 9/11 vibes were gone by 2004. Maybe you're too young to remember that, but 2004, there was a lot of anti-Bush sentiment, a lot.
There always was, but I'm just saying, there must have been real support for it at that time.
Well, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, my point is that was the last time they won the popular vote, and if the GOP continues down this right-wing track, they won't win another presidential election popular vote for I don't know, the next 40 years.
Unless
30
there's
years?
a quasi-fascist takeover next cycle. I don't think
And
that
they don't allow people to vote anymore.
I don't think they've got another election in them. It's broken. What are they gonna, if they lose and half the party tries to insurrect the country or something like that, or some kind of riot happens again, or you have to go with this crazy angry Trump, or an establishment Republican Party that's trying to right the ship. I don't see it ending with a big party that's all together against the Democrats by the end. Does that sound wrong to me?
I don't know. Well, I guess it depends. If the GOP wins the presidential election, who knows what happens in the next 4 years?
Maybe I'll finally get to be in any way discerning about the Democratic candidate for once in my fucking life.
But the Democrats win, and the GOP has to lick their wounds and decide, well, how are we going to be going forward? How are we going to be a national party again on the presidential stage? Because they can still, like I said, gerrymander certain states, and they still can win Senate seats and things like that. How are we going to come back from this? I don't know. That's not what this podcast is about. I'm just telling you the numbers, and the numbers for younger voters day by day means more of a margin for the Democrats up until the election.
Yeah, it's just crazy. It's just it feels good, but I'm like traumatized now.
I'm not traumatized. Why are you traumatized?
I've, like the last 2 times that I've been like, yeah, we got this. It was like the worst days of my life.
It'll be an interesting election night. It'll be interesting.
I'm hoping
you know how I spent the night?
Huh.
Because I was looking at the cold numbers. It was all my Democratic friends, some of our mutuals, being worried about like certain states like Georgia, and I had to tell them, don't worry. I'm like looking at the counties and where the votes are still out, and like looking at just crunching numbers on my calculator. I'm like, don't worry, Georgia's going to go Democratic. I'm seeing all these votes out in this county, and that's like a stronghold for Democrats. It was everyone freaking the fuck out. I had to like tell them, don't worry, it's going to be fine. It's just going to take a little bit to count these votes, and it was interesting. It was the same friends that I would argue about policy back in like 2012 or 2008. Now it's like, don't worry, I'm looking at the numbers. I'm just literally just crunching them, and it's going to be okay for the Democrats. You don't have to jump out the fucking window now.
Yeah. I mean, look, it's we're all obviously very tired of how things have been going. That's clear. So I think it's time for a big statement, regardless of what it is. It's terrifying, but it's also
Are you
hopeful.
editorializing for the Democrats right now? Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm saying for both sides
or
right
just
now.
in general, it's just tiresome.
Yeah.
It's the divide like this has been tiresome.
Everybody's just burnt out on this entire cycle. It's just, I don't get fired up about it. I don't feel good about it at all. Like, I can't imagine it feels any different being a Republican.
And that's the last thing I'll say. I think this is just anecdotal evidence from, I've talked to a few people I know in Pennsylvania, which is a battleground state. If Harris wins Pennsylvania, she basically wins the election. If she loses it, she's in trouble. Just my anecdotal evidence from the people in Pennsylvania are saying that they see enthusiasm for Trump down and less signs. And the traditional Republicans that in the past were like defending Trump's weird things he was saying and doing are having a harder time doing that. I think that combination also of enthusiasm is going to be down for the GOP. Like I said, things can happen. 2016 was a weird thing. I just don't see it. I'm trying to be objective. I don't see it happening this time where Trump pulls the rabbit out of the hat again. I just don't see it.
Yeah, I think it's going to get real scary if he loses. But I'm.
Oh, that's a total conversation.
I'm hopeful. But I'm hopeful that he's going to. I don't have zero hope that this is going to go the way that I'm hoping.
I think it's scary if he loses, but not if he wins. That's interesting coming from a Democratic voter. That's interesting.
I'm scared in a like long burn way if he wins.
You're scared either way. Then if he wins or he loses, you're scared.
Yeah, it's. I mean, but in a more acute way, I'm scared. Like on November 5th or whatever day it is, I'm scared if he loses. Like I'm scared.
Well,
immediately.
Would you feel better if he wins?
No, of course not.
Oh, okay. So either way, you have existential dread. Okay.
I don't feel confident that it's going to go well.
Either way.
Yeah.
Sure. Okay. All right. Fair enough.
That's my Alex math. That's my Alex prediction.
We'll see. Okay. That's again my prediction. It's like a 7 to 8 points ahead nationally. We'll say 7 points. She goes at nationally ahead, but we'll see how that breaks down state by state.
If it's a massacre, though, maybe there won't be as much unrest.
Looking at some of these sites, it's the likelihood of Trump winning is like the same as her winning the Electoral College by like 70 votes. It's like one of those sort of deals where it's like, well, if he wins, yeah, it's possible, but it's also possible that she blows him out of the water, like more than Biden. It's interesting when you look at the math. It's fascinating, all these different models they have out there. TwitchCon happened this past weekend in San Diego.
Yeah, it did.
My backyard.
A bizarre event.
Bizarre? First of all, don't get me kicked off as a Twitch partner.
I'm a Twitch partner too. Listen, it's just a bizarre event that I don't fully understand. And as somebody who thinks about consumers a lot and about marketing a lot, I just have a lot of thoughts about TwitchCon. That's all.
What is TwitchCon? TwitchCon is an event held by Twitch at the San Diego Convention Center in the beautiful downtown San Diego, where they hold the world famous San Diego Comic-Con every year. that just sold its tickets the past weekend. I always miss those events, but I get in as a professional. And so what happens is people pay for a day pass, which is $140, or a 3-day pass for $239. And there's also the block party pass, where you can just hang out and have fun at one of the blocks they block out in the downtown Gaslamp district.
How much is that?
It was sold out. I think it's like $80 to $100 on top of it and everything else.
And it's just a party?
Separate from that, though, if you are a partner and buy a pass, there is a partner-only event that's a party.
You have to buy a pass if you're a partner?
Yeah, absolutely. Why would it be free if you're a partner?
Because that's what a partnership is like you're part of the...
No.
Like, so, I don't know.
So what happens at TwitchCon if you don't know? TwitchCon has panels like other expos do. It's also a trade event. You have people that show like their new technology to show to streamers. Like, oh, here's the new keyboards and LED lights and cameras and stuff like that. And that's basically TwitchCon. And there's meetups, like so influencers and streamers will do meetups there, or maybe they'll do a signing somewhere.
The Twitch PR will say it's aspirational.
Sure, but this is what's strange to me about TwitchCon. I always thought for years it was mainly a fan event, where if I'm a fan of a certain streamer, I'll go out there and I'll see them do a panel, and then I will see them, maybe at a hangout and I get dinner with them and meet other people that like to watch streamers, because let's face it, nowadays with the younger crowd, more and more people, that's their main mode of entertainment, even more than YouTube, is watching streamers. But Alex, it was told to me this year by someone that I know, that I'm close to, that, it might be involved with TwitchCon, that TwitchCon is mostly panels that are like workshops for aspiring streamers and people that currently stream, and maybe 30 to 40% like fun panels. And that like blew my mind in a way I never thought about, where I was like, wait a second. This is like a workshop event that you pay to go to, basically, where if I'm a streamer, I can go and find out how to stream better and build my audience and to like manage my chat better. That's what TwitchCon is. And when I heard that news, I was like flabbergasted that this is a big event that gets, I think a couple years ago, did like 30,000 people in San Diego. So that's not Comic-Con that does 150,000, but it's not nothing big. 30,000. 30,000 is big.
Considering it's not primarily a fan event, like obviously there's tons of fans that go to this event.
Correct.
And obviously a lot of the thing that's kind of strange about Twitch, and I might go off on a tangent here because this is occurring to me in real time, and I'm
go off on a tangent, Alex. That's why I like you sometimes.
Twitch is like different than like a YouTube situation or like a Instagram situation or something like that. And obviously Instagram is now kind of becoming more like Twitch in some ways, but Twitch is not like a thing that exists outside of Twitch. Like the art form of Twitch streaming, like you can stream, but like there's not like primarily like a thing that people do that's like independent of any one company. Like the Twitch experience is very much a branded one. So it's interesting to me that there's like a creator type of mindset that's directly translated to Twitch only, because it's kind of like you're like a freelance worker for just one company to me a little bit. And so like you don't really have like, I mean, I'm sure some people get jobs off Twitch. Like I've seen certain shoutcasters and stuff like kind of go up through the ranks, or like sometimes people who are kind of fun on Twitch streams sometimes get jobs hosting game reveal events or fan events or something, or whatever.
Sure.
Live.
They become influencers in some way.
Yeah, like, but no, just not even that. Just getting jobs, right? And because I want to talk about like how useful it is to be a successful Twitch streamer, because outside of your Twitch page, it's really hard to get any sort of guarantee out of a Twitch streamer. Like, I've never the Twitch streamers that I've seen transition well from being Twitch streamers to like actual hosts on camera for like paid gigs and stuff like that is usually doesn't usually have anything to do with the fact that they Twitch stream, and usually has to do with some other training that they have. And a lot of the people that I see that are Twitch streamers who host things are actually markedly worse at the job than people who maybe are unknowns who would be hired just because they're funny or good at
So
hosting.
there's no correlation between, hey, they broke out as a presenter. It has almost nothing to do with their Twitch skill.
Yeah, like really what they're doing is those people that are casting them are trying to like bankroll off their viewers coming to see, like, you know,
off their followers, following them to this product or this show or whatever.
Yeah, and that's the reason they're being hired, and I'm glad that people are finding opportunities in this world, and I'm absolutely not trying to turn this against people who do Twitch. I actually like love doing Twitch myself. It's like I don't do it very often, but I really do enjoy like streaming and making my overlays and thinking about the fans and stuff like that. And so I don't necessarily hate the Twitch product. I just think it's weird that they're selling it as like a dream career path or something like that.
See, I don't know if it was chicken or the egg where did Twitch find out, wow, most of the people coming here are aspiring streamers, so we should cater to them with panels at our workshops, or that's just how it works out with the numbers, that those are the ones that come out here. Like,
TwitchCon,
I don't know. Yeah.
TwitchCon in like anecdotal terms, like I, just because of who I am as like what my job is and stuff, I know a lot of people who are like primarily Twitch streamers, as a matter of fact, right? Like I actually do like know a lot of people.
That's how they make their living, primarily, is on Twitch.
Yeah, like truly actual people who are professional Twitch streamers. And the way I see them on social media interact with TwitchCon is like primarily it's a chance to meet the internet friends that you have in real life as creators, which, like, you know, as you and I, who are on a similar, we were both on the RetroCon circuit at the same time for a long time, where we'd like every couple months or 2 months or whatever, we'd like run into each other at a convention, and it was always fun to see like Andre and you and Norm and, you know, all the people that we, you know, the old school gang that we'd like go to like some shitty restaurant after the con, you know,
Yeah.
that stuff's fun. And
We're dying out.
yeah. And TwitchCon is mostly that. Feeling for I think a lot of the people that are there, and then also a networking opportunity for, you know, to meet streamers and people that you know you might not know who you know you can get in with, and then the creator stuff is like, I think more like I was telling you about this the other day on the phone. Maker used to have this other company called RPM that was like, the split was like in the favor of RPM, and their idea, rather than hiring the best of the best channels to get big numbers for the company and, you know, split fairly with them because they're bringing views, the business plan was more along the lines of hiring as many partners as possible and blowing up like one big number by on the backs of a bunch.
Let's explain. People don't know what that means. So Maker was a multi-channel network, and they had a time period where it used to be, it was hard to get monetized on YouTube, and then about 10 years ago they opened it up to any company to do it.
In the early days, it was like getting an agent, basically, is how it felt.
Then it became anyone can do it, and then eventually Twitch, YouTube had to say, wow, we're monetizing too many people. We have to have standards. So what Maker did then was say, well, let's just hire thousands of channels. And Machinima did the same thing, and then we'll just make money off of every incidental little view, like 50-50 or 40-60 splits or whatever they would do. And that's how it was at the time.
Predatory splits that were cynically put in there on the notion that most of the people that are in the program aren't going to make it. And I want to say first that with Twitch, there is a beautiful community of people that are very, very supportive. Twitch in general, to me, is one of the nicest, most like human interactions that I have with people on the internet that I don't know. I love Twitch. I love the community. I love the way that the people on Twitch support small streamers. I love the traditions of like Big Fish going and raiding other streams and stuff like that. I love that stuff.
I do that every Wednesday.
I love the stream teams, you know, that bring little guys into their stream teams to like grow. I love that stuff, but that's all manufactured by Twitch, who are in control of who's popular on their platform, because it's all just an algorithm, and there's no streaming art form on Twitch outside of this one place where they run it. You know, like YouTube, there's definitely videos that can only really make sense on YouTube, but videos as a thing aren't owned by YouTube. You know what I mean?
YouTube is produced content.
Right.
And Twitch is not.
But
Twitch
it is. It's just in a different way. It's like it did an insane thing where they brought the technology of like broadcasting to the public to like the masses. So it's something. It's just its own thing. There's not like a world of it.
It's live. I guess you can say live. Play acting, if you're doing a hangout.
It only passingly resembles like
it's a live
television
performance in a way, because you're doing a let's play, you're trying to be entertaining. It's not content by and large that if people miss it, they're going to go back and watch 8 hours of someone playing a game. It's all about being there at the time.
It's just like, to me, the idea of like, okay, a successful streamer who's like getting views and is like doing well is not going to go to a workshop to learn how to like engage with their fans. It's going to be people that are not successful who want to learn how to do it, or are mildly successful.
Correct.
and trying to up their game. And the feeling of it as like, hey, we brought in these people who are successful to tell you about Twitch. It's like, Twitch knows how to be successful on Twitch. It's like an algorithm. They control it. Like, you could just hire people to work at Twitch and be, I don't know. It just feels weird to charge people this much money to come here. It costs thousands of dollars to come here from all over the world. It's just a lot of money that they're making off of like the promise that this is going to help you, when really the ecosystem doesn't allow for almost anyone who's doing it to succeed, because it's a limited ecosystem in a way that something like YouTube is not.
It's not a Ponzi, but it's a pyramid. In terms of like, the more people that stream, the less audience per person exists.
Yeah.
That's so if there's only 1,000 streamers and you have 1 million people watching them, then obviously you get a bigger share. But what if everyone else thinks they can stream as well and be successful? Now you have 850,000 streamers sharing the same million audience.
30,000 already. Let's just think about 30,000, like the deflated numbers that you got from a couple years ago. Every one of those persons is like statistically a Twitch creator.
Not everyone, but I'm just saying the numbers are probably higher than you think of people that go to TwitchCon that are streamers versus the fans. And so if you go on Twitch anytime, I guarantee you can stumble upon many streamers that have like 2 people only watching one streamer.
Right.
Or, you know what I mean? Or 3 or 4. And I'm not saying those are the people that are coming out to TwitchCon, but some of those
a lot of them are, yeah.
Or say, I don't know. See, I stream once a week, and I get between 190 and 250 people watch me for a few hours. That's considered moderately successful for Twitch. That's considered like,
that's enviable numbers by 90% of the people on the platform.
Correct. But that's still, to me, like, even if I was doing that 5 days a week, I could not make a living doing that. Especially like that gets me through generous, obviously, bits and subscribers. That's enough to pay for my grocery bill every week, and maybe DoorDash. Like, that's like, from a business perspective, what Twitch has done for me. So imagine then if you get 10 people or even 20 people and you're streaming for 8 hours a day. Now I feel that if I go out to TwitchCon in San Diego, say the airfare is only $250, $300.
If you're domestic, yeah.
Yeah. We'll just say it's $250 if you live 2 states away. Now I got to find a hotel or share one. That's not going to be less than $450 for 3 nights at the very least.
If you're splitting it with 2 or 3 people.
If you're splitting it. All right, so now you're up to like $600 or $700. Now food for 3 days and whatever else. So you're looking at $1,000, I think, conservatively, to do TwitchCon. I even count the ticket. It's $1,000 to do TwitchCon, probably. Like, that's a low average, probably, to do TwitchCon for all 3 days, and not counting the extra block party and
a merch or a whatever, yeah.
And the vast majority will never make that money back during the year. By going to their workshops, how to improve your audience or how to engage more in the community. So I'm not saying it's a fool's errand, because obviously a lot of people go and realize that, hey, I'm just going to have fun. I want to meet other creators. Nobody's trying
to shit on that part of it.
No,
Yeah.
But I'm saying, yes, when I found out about mostly workshops, it changed my idea. And let's just put it this way. Because I've been asked every year if I'm going. If people are like people that I know that are on Twitch or people that are going to be in the area, and I don't live too far, but every year I say, no, I feel weird. I don't think I'll fit in. And it's just hearing this information makes me feel like I made the right decision more and more, because I don't want to be in a weird situation where, like, I don't want to be like just hanging out with people because they also stream. I don't have a kinship to those people because we're on the same platform. To me, it's like, wow, you're on YouTube. I am too. Okay. It's just an outlet. It's just literally like, it's a way where it would be like, oh, I know someone, say I'm a skateboarder. Oh, you skateboard in the same park that I do? Okay, cool. Doesn't mean we should have dinner together necessarily. Maybe if you're cool, but like that's the vibes I get from it, where do I want to go to a meetup and meet up with my friend, and then they're hanging out with a bunch of people that are also streaming on the platform that know each other, and now that's my evening. I have to. I mean, I'm not saying these people are bad people. They're not. They're probably good people. But like, is that what I want to be around? Do I want to be in an environment where it's a giant meet and greet and networking just because we were all streaming?
Does Amway charge for their sales conference?
Well, Amway, Bob Hope selling Amway back in the day.
Do you know what I'm saying? Like, is this does Herbalife like charge their like marks for the like big like group Herbalife like conference where they like all meet up?
I don't think TwitchCon's a bunch of marks. But I see what you're saying.
I'm saying Herbalife is a bunch of marks. Twitch is not a bunch of marks, but like, if you're thinking about it in the context of something like that, like Twitch is the only company that makes money besides like it's all just for them to make money. I don't understand how you don't see that. You know?
No, I do see that. What do you mean I don't see that? What?
No, not you. The royal you.
The royal you. Big Lebowski.
Like, I just don't understand. Like, I just don't understand it. Like, it gives me the ick. Like, it makes me feel like I would rather like. What's to stop you from all meeting up in fucking New Orleans on a random weekend?
I mean,
your friends?
just conservatively, if it's 30,000 people at $249 a pop, not including the extra add-ons for the block party, that's $7.5 million just on ticket sales. That doesn't count how much money Twitch is making from all the vendors that are there, the exhibitors that are there on site. That's not cheap space. So we're looking at Twitch making, I don't know, top of my head, they're making $10 to $15 million running this event. And gross, not profit, gross. It's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money
to run it, and that could be low. I have no idea.
And we were talking about this yesterday or the other day, like about how we were going to talk about it on the show. And I was saying, like, it's crazy that it's like not free to like learn how to be good on Twitch. And then you pointed to the Twitch Creator Camp website, which
there's an online guide
I had not been to,
like videos to like give you tips about how to get started. And
it's like, it's whack though. It looks like a big tutorial.
Well, what do you expect it to be?
Like a workshop. Like I would love to like have like a expert in production talk to me about like what people enjoy watching, like what makes good hosting. Like all this stuff is like establish your brand, use a like memorable picture.
Oh,
like all together we're talking like 4 or 5 hours maximum on this. Like I feel like it should be like like if they were serious about this, I would take some of the money from TwitchCon and like invest in having educators like enrich the Twitch platform with like talent and skill and culture and tradition instead of like, a tutorial.
I get it, but I mean, what's the ROI if you're Amazon, who remember owns Twitch? What's the ROI on hiring professionals to do? You want to do live classroom stuff,
dude? I bought a monitor.
You want a Twitch masterclass? Like, what do you want?
I bought a monitor from Amazon that was like a 4K monitor, 120 hertz, and it came broken, and they just sent me a second one. They didn't even ask for the old one back.
Okay.
They just like they don't need to worry about ROI on shit at Amazon. Like,
well, sure, you say that, but Twitch knows that
there's not a company alive that needs to worry more about ROI than their public perception as a brand, as a valuable brand right now in the world.
Well, first of all, Amazon didn't make that monitor. The company did that, so it's not Amazon.
I'm just saying, like, they completely ate the cost entirely in all ways of the monitor. They just gave me a second one for free. I paid for one and I got two.
Well, that's called shrink. Well, you said the one didn't work anyway, so
I know. I'm just saying, like, they weren't like, now give me that back. Like,
okay.
let me, like,
all right, Alex. This is how that business works. When this company makes when their factory spits out 5,000 monitors a day, they know that, hey, this percentage is going to be broken. That's built into the cost, Alex. That's how these businesses work. I'm just letting you know that.
I know, but I'm just saying, like, they'll ship me a second one for free. Like, they'll pay to satisfy my problem. Like,
but that's not Amazon. What I'm saying is it's a company that made the monitor. You're not, okay, whatever. We're getting off track.
I'm just saying, like, the fact that on this side of the coin, they're like, hey, if you want to learn about emotes, go to our Creator Camp website. Otherwise, fly across the fucking country, spend $1,200 and come see your friends, and then you can learn how to, like, get better thumbnails.
I think it's a social event first, or part of it, and then, hey, if you go to a workshop, you know, I will, if I submit a panel and they say accepted, and then I get it in for free, I will go there. I will spend a day there and tell you next year, if we're still doing this podcast, hey, this is what this was like, Alex. I finally went after 7 years of people asking if I'm going. I will say, this is what this was like doing the panel. And I would love to gauge the people in the audience to be like, hey, who here thinks they're going to make it as a big streamer? The top 1% versus, I'm just here to have fun and hang out. And hey, if I stream, it's just for fun. And hey, there's no harm, no foul. There's no shame in streaming. And then, you know, if you have a small audience, that's just how it works with the numbers. It's all a math game when it comes to it. Not everyone can have an audience of thousands watching you. I will never have thousands watching me, except when I was on the front page of Twitch doing the NES Marathon when they promoted me. That was the only time we had thousands watching us at one time, was that.
I just don't like the idea that if you work really hard, you're going to, like, have success on the platform.
Well, no, that's with any entertainment, though, Alex. You know, you're near Hollywood. You can work hard all you want and never make it.
I know,
for anything, for music.
Hollywood doesn't charge me to tell me that I can make it.
Oh,
that's
all. Okay, you have acting coaches, you have voice lesson coaches out there.
Not Warner Brothers Studios. Like, this is Twitch. They own the platform.
Oh, sure,
they're charging me. But that's what I'm saying. Like, that's the thing that makes me feel weird about it. It feels like a lot of people are going to be insincere that are there because they're trying to network. We
should do a panel there next year, Alex. We should inside out change the system.
How to stream. That should be our panel.
How to stream?
Yeah, how to stream.
We were just natural presenters that took our audiences to Twitch, right? So I didn't build my Twitch audience from scratch. Yes, people did find me from accident, but probably the large chunk found me because I was on YouTube forever before doing it.
My wife streams on my channel a lot more than I do.
There you go.
But I stream on there from time to time, and I have a good time doing it. And every once in a while, I'll go on a tear and build up an audience and play a game or two. You know, I really enjoy it as a thing. I just don't like how I see people have to hustle so hard, and a lot of the most successful streamers that I know are a lot of the most sort of like wretched living and unhappy, like living, like their day-to-day like routine is very, very bleak.
Yes, because it's like being in a cubicle. You're going to be tethered to your computer for 45 hours a week.
That's awful. So it's I don't know. There's things about TwitchCon that make me feel weird, but like, I'm absolutely not here to yuck anyone's yum. I'm not trying to say anybody's dumb for going. I just think it's kind of like a gross event that could be better, and that could serve. And I think that like it could serve the people that are fucking paying and flying across the world to be there to go get like a $45 mimosa at a bad hotel bar. Like, you know, like.
Well, first of all, they're not 45. First of all, $45 mimosas downtown San Diego. Yeah, it's possible, but
get your
not.
Stream team and go meet in, like, I don't know, Cherry Hill, New Jersey. Go somewhere where there's no tourism.
The last time I got a lap dance was in Cherry Hill, New Jersey. How did you bring up that name? I must have mentioned it last time.
It was just a trip that I went on to like a place that was like not very touristy, and then I was able to like go into Philly, but like, you know, it was just the last place that I went that was like, oh, this is just like a normal town.
So her name was Goldie, and she was probably the best looking dancer there. And this was while I was in a fraternity. We can do a fraternity segment every time on the NutsCon podcast. I had a horrible time in my fraternity. And so her name was Goldie. Obviously, she had huge fake tracts of land up there. Monty Python reference to those that got it. They're laughing hysterically.
Tits for the people who don't like British comedy.
Yeah. And so I remember waiting. It was awkward because we were all waiting in line. We were pledging, so I was like 18 and a half.
Oh, my God.
And I never, that was my first time in a strip club, I believe, in Cherry Hill, right across the river.
Yeah, the Mega Man eyes.
So while we're waiting online, her name was, Goldie. That's right, Goldie. Not a real name. She said, yeah, I'm studying to become a radiologist, and I'm doing it. And it's like, it's a high earning job. The entire illusion just dashed to hell. It's like, this is supposed to be a fantasy. You're not supposed to have aspirations and goals. I'm an 18-year-old horny male, and now it's just like, it like turned me off. And then then the lap dance comes where you're like trapped. It's if you've never had a lap dance in like the booth before, this is why I don't like strip clubs. You're like, it's like a prison cell where it's like you're sitting off to the side and they're standing over you, and by design you cannot really move your arms that much, but you're allowed to I think touch up to like her knee, right? You can do that. That was within your purview that she told you can do, right? Yeah. So you're doing that, and she's like just dancing it with it in your face, and for 5 minutes it's $20 and it's over. I don't know. I felt cheap afterwards. I didn't feel a connection with Goldie there, Alex. I'm just telling you.
I mean, when you go to Taco Bell and you have like a chili cheese burrito, are you like truly Mexican cuisine was honored here today?
No, but she looked a lot better than a cheap Taco Bell.
I'm not trying to compare Goldie directly to a chili cheese burrito.
She was like porn star good looks, like the way like Jenna Jameson kind of looked. Like that's how she kind of looked.
Okay, but let's like forget about the looks and just let's talk about like what a lap dance is compared to like a rewarding 45-year relationship. You know what I mean? Okay. Like it's not like you're gonna be like well,
not even like what if you put that money into like trying to get laid in some other way for real versus, you know what I mean? Like that's the way I look.
That's true. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. That's poetry.
And so now we're getting off topic, but the last time I went to a strip club was 20 years ago in New Jersey, and it was my cousin's bachelor party. 20 years I've not been to one. I feel like I should get back to one at some point.
Dude, let's go to Jumbo's Clown Room next time you're in LA.
I'm not going with the guy. No, that's my...
What are you talking about? You're not going with a
girlfriend or a gal who would enjoy it, and I buy her lap dances. I'm not going with other guys to
You've just never been to Jumbo's. You've just never been to Jumbo's Clown Room.
Is it fun? Did they make it fun?
It's fun. We'll get a table.
Okay, really, me, you, and who else?
Just us.
We'll
bust out that suit you bought again, and let's.
You don't think it'd be weird if you think it'd be totally cool if we bought each other lap dances at a gentleman's club
to the nines?
Something you want, huh?
To the nines. We don't need to buy each other lap dances. We can just hang out. We can have a couple drinks, enjoy the show, enjoy the vibes.
Just bring a stack of singles and fives.
Yeah, bring like $500 in ones.
Well, I don't have that much for my conventions. It'd be weird going to the. I'm just kidding. That's part of the worst, probably part of the experience.
That's what we should do after every convention. To be honest, that's the real. That's how we pay it forward. Is
I guess if you're James Harden and they're expecting you to go to the.
I wish I was fucking James Harden.
They expect you to just take out 10,000 in singles every other week. But for someone like me going to Wells Fargo here and asking for 500 singles, they would look at me like, "What are you doing?" I think I make up a lie like, "Oh, I'm just selling at the flea market." I need
it'll be like Swingers. It'll be like, "Have you ever seen the movie Swingers?" And then that's all you give them.
I haven't seen Swingers in over 20 years.
That's perfect. It's just as long as it's been since you've been in a strip club. It's gonna be perfect.
So am I Vince Vaughn in this scenario? You're more Vince Vaughn. I'm more nervous about going to.
I feel more like Vince Vaughn today than I did when last time I saw Swingers.
I don't know. I just don't like the vibe of it. It's not fun. All the men are looking at women like they're prey. Versus, obviously, it's a lot different for when I've seen or heard. When women go to a strip club, it's fun. It's a celebration. And when men go, it's I don't know. It's creepy to me. The vibe. I don't know.
Come out with your boy. We'll have a good time. We'll wear suits.
No, I don't want to wear a suit. Whereas like what? Like it's Miami Vice. You want me wearing
we'll roll up. We'll rent a car. It'll be nice. We'll go get some steaks.
I gotta think about all those beautiful women that moved from the Midwest that were failed.
We'll go to Musso. We'll go to Musso and Frank's. We'll get some Alfredo pasta, glass of red wine.
I got to think about that beautiful farm girl from Idaho that thought she'd be in movies, and now she's dancing on top of a table for tips.
It's more of an alternative vibe at Jumbo's. It's David Lynch. It's David Lynch's favorite strip club. It's great.
All right, what did we learn today on the Not So Common podcast besides that Alex wants to take me to a strip club?
We learned that Superman is Jesus. If you want to take away one thing from today, it's that Superman is the same as Jesus. No, he's not, but I just want everybody to think about how powerful some cinematic universes have become, and just think about that. I've never really thought about that. The difference between Star Wars and the MCU is that everything's canon in Star Wars.
We learned that there's
not absolutely everything, but
there's
mostly.
a lot of young people registering to vote. That's a lot. And Pat mathed it out. And I might be crazy, but that's my most impressive Pat maths ever.
I'll take it. That's positive news for me. Also, TwitchCon, we love Twitch streamers. I'm a little bit aghast at what TwitchCon's whole vibe is.
We learned that you're aghast at TwitchCon's vibe. Is that what we learned?
Like, if I just went to you're
not keeping in the format, but okay.
Listen, if I went to a brewery over by TwitchCon and I just rented it out for the day and I said, hey, if you're a Twitch streamer, you can get in here for free and drink some beers, and if you want, you can tip me $10. And it's like next to TwitchCon. Like, doesn't that sound better than TwitchCon?
Okay. That's not keeping with the spirit of what did we learn today.
We learned that I have a great idea for an alternative to TwitchCon.
There you go. That's what we learned today. We also learned that Pat can be both right and left wing, depending.
I can't imagine being like this right wing guy, Pat the NES punk. That's just funny to me.
we learned that my sister can be a lot to handle. I didn't even
Summer
get into
Summer of the Sister.
I didn't even get into the rental of the BMW that she insisted on. I didn't get into that. I forgot about that.
Okay? Can I just quick yes or no question to close out?
Sure.
Was it scary?
Yes. It was scary having my sister around for 2.5 days. It was very scary. So anyway, all right. Well, we'll see you in 2 or 3 weeks. We got to talk about that. I'm doing a lot. I'm doing 3 conventions. I'm going to be at Portland Retro Gaming Expo.
On the road.
I'm going to be at Portland Retro Gaming Expo the 28th and 29th of September. Then I will be in Syracuse Retro Game Con. That is 2 weeks later, the 12th and 13th. Then I probably will be returning to Retropalooza in Fort Worth, Texas, the 26th and 27th. 3 and 5 weeks. I am too old for that, but I got to sell a certain N64 guidebook that you can pre-order at ultimatenintendo.com.
Kiss the book.
Yep, it's a doozy. It's heavy as hell, and I have meetings every day about it this week.
I'm in it.
You have an article in it. I owe you a copy for sure. And thank you.
Can't wait to read it.
All right. And if you want to advertise on the Not So Common podcast, give me an email, pat@thepunkeffect.com, and we'll talk about it. We'll see if it works out. I don't know. But yeah, we can make it entertaining whenever you want us to advertise your product or service.
Can I get a friend discount on that?
You want to advertise something on the Not So Common podcast?
Yeah. Can you cut me a deal?
Yeah, I'll cut you a deal, Alex. You want to advertise your Twitch stream on the Not So Common podcast?
Yeah, check it out. Check me out on Twitch.
Did I ever tell you that you've seen real quick before we go, that someone that advertised on the CU podcast ended up attacking me and Ian years later because of the Amico?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. And people thought that was made up and fake. It's like, nope, that person did that, and they were shamed off of YouTube because of that. Multiple people were, but that's the fun of being an online personality.
YouTube conspiracy theories are a cry for help. Also, that's another one. If you same as if you say you're undecided and you need, let's see, who should I vote for? That's a cry for help at this point. Same with this.
We learned that if you're undecided, still seek help.
If you're a YouTuber conspiracy theorist, seek help.
That too? Okay.
Yeah.
If you're an undecided YouTube conspiracy theorist, seek help.
I don't know. Okay. You're lost. It's too late for you if you're that.
All right. We'll see you in 2 to 3 weeks.
Yeah.